If you're one of those people that don't align themselves with some form of feminism because you're afraid of being seen as a bitter woman, an angry woman, frigid, a man hater, then you're really just not paying enough attention and you care more about men's feelings than your own liberation. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but being the patriarchy's princess will not save you. Trying to make feminism palatable to men will not save you. Too many people are calling themselves feminist while spending more time coddling men's feelings and holding their hands and trying to convince them that we're worthy of human rights than actually fighting for said rights. I personally would rather stand with my fellow women and girls and be deemed hysterical, irrational, and whatever else misogynistic thing they want to place onto me, because in reality, you're going to be seen that way anyway, deep down. And I will never, ever prioritize male feelings over my own values like some of you are willing to do. And I knew that the hunger for male validation was an illness, but it went to a whole new level when I saw you guys crave it so badly that you were willing to throw a female domestic violence victim under the bus and make thirst traps to her rape testimony to show men that you're one of the good ones and you support male victims and all that stuff. Knowing good and well the men would never do that for female victims, and they never do that. They never do that. In fact, it's more likely that they would support and be in community with the abuser than they ever would stand up for the female victim. And even if you did not believe her, fine. Let's say you don't believe her. Every woman that you know has a story and had to watch you try to be cute and sexy and whatever to someone's rape testimony that probably mirrors their own in some capacity. So it's weird no matter how you try to slice it. Women and girls do not have to be likable or pretty or even good people to deserve human rights. You don't have to appeal to patriarchal stereotypes and ideas of what a woman or girl should be in order to be deserving of safety from violence and harassment and misogyny. We should not have to make feminism palatable to other people by saying it's for everyone. It should be enough that the patriarchy hurts women and girls. I know that the patriarchy hurts men too, but that's also in the same way that your knuckles hurt when you punch someone. But let's focus on the people that are actually getting fucking punched here. Let's focus on the fact that a girl was continuously raped by her uncle and his son until she got sick and died and they were both acquitted. Let's focus on the fact that another 13-year-old was killed by her porn-addicted father. Let's focus on the fact that a young 6-year-old girl was killed by 3 little boys and they were also porn addicts. Let's focus on the fact that every hour 6 women are killed by their romantic partners or male relatives. Let's focus on the fact that we still don't have the right to exist without being harmed in some way by a man and know that they will be brought to justice, because most of the time they will not. So much of modern feminism is just giving men what they want, censoring their needs, and holding their hands while they oppress us further. Feminism has made a lot of progress, but we have a long way to go, and we're never going to get anywhere if everything comes back to catering to the desires of our oppressors and calling it empowering. So yes, I'll take it. I'll be the bitter feminist. I will be whatever, because if you aren't bitter, if you aren't fed up, then you're not fucking paying attention. Why are you okay with these very minuscule steps that have been taken towards collective female liberation? Yeah, we can vote now. Yeah, we can work a job. We can do certain things, and that's fine and dandy, but we are so far from where we should be. I want so much more for us than what we have become accustomed to settling for, than these little scraps that they give us while they continue to take away and also not give us things that are vital protections, like actually making sure that people get justice. And people love talking about false allegations, which is a whole other topic that I could really go into. We don't get justice because we are not valued. We are not considered to be valuable, which is like our lives are disposable. And that's why it does not matter that femicide is an ongoing thing in this entire world, that thousands and thousands of women are losing their lives at the hands of male relatives and men that they are in romantic relationships with. We deserve better than this. And trying to be the patriarchy's princess, trying to be a man's lapdog, that is never going to get you anywhere. And also, even if it benefits you, you should care about people other than yourself. The way out of the patriarchy will never be holding men's hands and trying to make feminism palatable to them. I'm sorry, that's never going to be the solution. We tried that and look at where we are now. Oh, okay. And also, why are we acting like it's not valid to completely hate your oppressor? Like, does it mean that you hate every single individual man? No. But there's privilege and there's power that comes with it that they more likely than not use for evil and to degrade and to dehumanize women. So yeah, I hate them all. There are not enough doing anything to stop what happens to women and girls. So, yes, I hate them all. They benefit far too much and do far too little with those benefits. So it completely makes sense that someone that wants female liberation would hate the people that are not helping us get there. So I saw this post about this girl who was very, very much into feminist theory, feminist discourse, whatever you want to call it. And then she found a boyfriend that is like super loving and respectful to her, apparently. And she was like, I feel the need to not engage with those things as much now that I have him. And I realized that a lot of you, in your view of feminism, is from a very selfish point of view. And I don't think a lot of people realize that a lot of things that we advocate for, they are good things that can come from feminism, but they are not the goal of feminism. A lot of you treat feminism as a form of therapy for your bad relationships with men, or as a way to nag men into being nicer to you. And with those two groups, the commonality is that your feminism is centered around getting men to be nicer. When in reality, feminism is about wanting to see the end of the patriarchy and female liberation. But instead of that, you just want your oppressors to be nicer to you and give you your rom-com experience. And that is a big reason why we will never make it out. This form of feminism does nothing to address femicide, female genital mutilation, women having the right to defend themselves without persecution, having the right to make medical decisions about your body, or little girls having access to education. It also does nothing to change the fact that women make up the largest percent of people affected by discrimination, rape, violence, etc. Your advocacy for female liberation should not end because a man buys you flowers or treats you like a human being. Sure, men being nice to women should happen, but that has nothing to do with women getting rights and liberation. If your idea of being empowered is just a progressive way of saying, I want women to be able to sleep with as many men as possible without any judgment, or wear makeup, or shave or not shave, or things like that, those are lovely choices to have, but they have nothing to do with women gaining any actual power. It's about collective liberation, not you finding the man of your dreams. And I blame a lot of this on people making feminism about everyone and individual choices instead of about female liberation. It's why people think that industries that rely on the exploitation of women can be empowering in any capacity, and why they ignore the women that are forced into it, abused, raped, and eventually kill themselves or are killed over it, so they can cheer on the small percent of women that do it happily and freely in the name of girl power, instead of advocating for a world where women make more without having to sleep with men they wouldn't sleep with if it weren't out of necessity. It's a very shallow and selfish way of looking at things. And you should not be advocating for feminism just when it benefits you or just so that it can get you to where you want to be, which is in a happy relationship with a man. It goes so far beyond that. It goes so far beyond hating men. And also, it's fair to hate your oppressor, but that again has nothing to do with feminism. That is a separate thing. So many things that we look at and see as like feminism, they are good benefits that could come from dismantling the patriarchy, but they are not the goal of feminism. Too much of modern feminism is centered around being palatable to men instead of actually achieving any sort of liberation, and that's where we get it fucked up. That is why we have not accomplished and made the big strides that people did in the other waves of feminism, because we're too busy trying to hold men's hands while they oppress us instead of trying to move further away from that oppression. Again, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be treated better by the men around you, and dismantling the patriarchy can lead to that. But the goal is not for you to have better romantic relationships. It's for you to still be having rights and benefits and things like that, regardless of your romantic status. So yeah, hopefully this makes sense. I need a lot of you guys to stop being so fucking selfish and look at it as collective liberation for everyone, whether they're dating men or not. My least favorite brand of feminism, or whatever you would call it, is like reclaiming misogynistic things and making it seem like it's like empowering. Like, yes, I'm a bitch, which is already like a degrading word, but being like, but I'm that bitch, or yeah, I'm a slut, but like in a cunty way. Like, I fucking hate it. Like, people can reclaim whatever they want, that's fine, but I just don't love it. I don't love it at all. And like far too much about modern feminism is taking like misogynistic or exploitative things and pretending that it's empowering when like your definition of power is still something that is degrading to you and somehow manages to still cater to your oppressors. It's just crazy. Like, we don't have, you can like it, but you don't have to pretend that it's empowering, because if that's your definition of power, we have very different goals. But like, I just don't think that we should have to settle for feeling empowered instead of actually being empowered. I don't think we should have to settle for making it positive for us to be referred to as sluts, instead of just not being judged for how many sexual partners we have or how sexual we are. There's so many examples that I can give, but I just feel like so many things that we try to like rebrand as empowering cannot be divorced from their misogynistic roots, no matter how much you try. But yeah, it's weird. I think the difference is that misogyny is more socially accepted than racism. Like, typically, people are going to be called out for being racist. People are going to be reprimanded for being racist. But with misogyny, it's something where it is so casual that sometimes even women don't realize that they're saying things that are misogynistic, or that men are saying things that are misogynistic. They're just used to women being degraded and subjugated and spoken to like they're less than human. So it's not as blatant as you would think, but there are millions of songs saying bitch. There's not millions of songs saying the N-word. Like, there are a lot by Black people, but you can find millions of songs where the word bitch is being said by men. So I think it's very different. I think that with the N-word specifically, it can sort of take on a different meaning, whereas with bitch, there is no positive way to compare a woman to a dog, in my opinion. I don't see it, and especially because men are still going to be using that in a negative way, and I believe that there are more men that say bitch than that say the N-word, and just people in general that say the N-word than the people that say bitch. So I think it's just different, just based on how normalized it is and how people don't really call that out. Like, men of any sexuality, ethnicity, whatever, they all say it, and it's not, no one's like, wait, you're a misogynist, even though it's literally an inherently misogynistic word. So yeah, I think that's what's different, the normalization of it, and how we have just come to accept them referring to us as that, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. Yeah, so to be honest, I feel as though you have to have some level of suspension of disbelief to date one at all. Like, you have to not care to some degree about misogyny in order to date a man. And that's not to say that you are self-hating or you hate other women. I think it just means that it is very, very hard, probably impossible, for a man to not participate in misogyny to some degree, because we live under a patriarchy, and we have since the beginning of time, and we probably always will. So it's not really feasible to find one that is not misogynistic to some degree. Some are just better at hiding it than others. So it's either deal with that, have some sort of cognitive dissonance, or not experience romantic love if you are not attracted to women. And that is a dilemma I'm very, very grateful that I don't have to deal with as a lesbian woman. Like, even the ones that claim to be very, very against it also are passive about it in some ways. Like, if it's in music that they like, if it's in media that they like in general, they are going to make excuses for it, and they're going to consume it because we are not valuable to them. And that's just the truth. If, for example, if there is some racism in media, usually if you're not racist, you're not going to engage with it, but people are perfectly fine with engaging with media that is misogynistic, whether it's in a subtle way or a very obvious way. They are going to engage with it because they benefit from it. They find it entertaining. Even if they don't outwardly say, I hate women, they are passive about it in some regard, whether it's their rapist friend they won't cut off, or their Andrew Tate dick sucker friend. Like, they always find a way to be misogynistic in some capacity, because it's just so interwoven into society and into their brains that I don't think it's possible for them to not be misogynistic to some degree. They think less of us to some extent. they view us as less worthy of being protected and valued and respected, to some degree. That's just the truth of the matter. That is why when it's a woman that we all collectively agree is bad, it is okay for them to speak about her in whatever way. It's okay for them to wish violence on her. It is okay for them to be violent towards her, because we don't agree with her and we don't like her. So yeah, it's complicated, and I'm not saying that women that are attracted to men shouldn't be able to date them. You can do whatever you want, but it does require a suspension of disbelief and a lot of delusion. And also, I would say that because misogyny is so well ingrained into society, they don't even realize that they're dating a misogynist, because he's not actively calling them a bitch. He's not actively doing certain things to them or saying certain things to them. But yeah, there's a lot of layers to it. That's what you need to tell yourself. If that makes you feel better, then sure. My whole point was just that you will never find a man that is not misogynistic to some degree, whether it's being super aggressive about it or being dismissive of it when it's men that they like, which is misogynistic in and of itself. So yeah, if it makes you feel better to live in like some dream world where they're able to be like that, then more power to you. I'm just not delusional enough to believe that. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, even though it does sound condescending. But it is a level of delusion to think that any man is capable of truly being an ally, because that would require him to give up the stuff that he benefits from, and that would also require him to hold his fellow men accountable in ways that most men are not willing to. They're not willing to give up their misogynistic media, their misogynistic music, or any of that. And a true ally is willing to do that stuff, and they are not. So like I said, at best, you can find one that is good at hiding his misogyny and doesn't outwardly hate women, but you will never find one that's not misogynistic. And unfortunately, there really isn't. And when I realized that, it was very, 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 very painful. And it still is when I think about the fact that no matter how much a man acts like he respects women, it only goes so far. And if you do think that there are some that are different, or your golden retriever boyfriend is so different, ask them some questions. Ask yourself some questions too. Ask them what kind of porn they watch and how often. Ask them if they've ever watched porn and thought, maybe this woman was groomed into this, or maybe this woman is on drugs and unable to truly consent. Listen to the jokes that he laughs at from his friends and the internet and the media. Look at how he speaks about women that he disagrees with. Look at whether he makes excuses for men that harm women or continues to support their art because he's separating them from artists. But if he respected women, he would not be supporting them, because he does not support the disrespect and the abuse of women. Take a look at what he doesn't do when he is seeing misogyny in his presence. See if he listens to misogynistic music. See if his favorite comedians are also misogynists. See how easily the word bitch leaves his mouth. And that's both in a negative way and a positive way, even though there's no positive way to call someone a derogatory term. Even if he's saying, oh, I have a bad bitch, or that bitch is bad, it's still disrespectful. And I could think of more examples, but really, when you think about it, there is not a man on earth that is completely non-misogynistic. It's just not, they are not selfless enough to cut off their misogynistic friends, not listen to misogynistic artists, not consume media that is dependent on the degradation of women. There's always something. Most men do not view women as people, and if you are able to get them to view you as a person, it is because something about you is beneficial to them, whether it is sexually, mentally, whatever. There is some benefit to you being there. It's not because they just view women as people and are respectful of women in general, which is why you will never find a man that has never called a woman a bitch, that has never enabled the mistreatment of another woman, that has not to some degree been misogynistic. You will never find that. You will never, ever find that. So it's very interesting that people think that they're just so fucking lucky and special that they just found this golden retriever. But you, at best, found someone that is very good at hiding their misogyny. And that's that. And even the male feminists, they don't fully understand the scope of misogyny and the ways that they contribute to it and are complacent with it and enable it. They are not like that. You can still find them supporting misogynistic music. You can still find them supporting porn. You can still find them doing all that. You can still find them doing things that are not in the name of empowerment and respect of women. But again, it's not that serious. The mistreatment of women is not that serious. So, of course, people are going to pass off certain things and say, oh, it's not that deep because it's women and we're second-class citizens. But me personally, I see through it, and it's very unfortunate to see through it because I can see it in every man that I have ever known, every man that I've ever met. And it's very frustrating and very disheartening, but it's the reality, and I can't unknow that. Another really egregious thing about misogyny that people don't talk about is the fact that it comes up even when a man is talking to another man. And by that, I mean calling a man a bitch, which obviously we know is a term that is gendered. Calling a man a pussy. I can't think of more examples right now, but you get the point. Like, even when it's between two men, women still catch a stray. People have been like, wait, no, it means female dog. Be fucking for real. Be fucking for real. They mean that you are acting like a woman, which is weak and sensitive and whatever else. There's no way to make bitch gender neutral. We know the history of it. We know what it fucking means. And it's like, when you really think about all the different ways that misogyny comes out, it kind of makes you feel like, why don't women go out and do the things that men do in terms of like offing people because they had a bad day? Women have a lot more reasons to have a bad day than other people. But instead, we are polite, we are kind even to our oppressors, and yeah, we don't get enough credit for that. Because if women acted the way that men do when they are upset and have a lot of big feelings, then no man would be left on earth, because we have to deal with a lot of shit from y'all. Y'all wouldn't last one fucking second, not even a fucking millisecond, if you were a woman. You would not. If you had to spend one day as a woman, I guarantee you would be joining those rates very fucking quickly. Because it's literally everywhere. The more you think about it, the more conscious you are of it, it is fucking everywhere and everything. Exactly. It's just very wild the way that even when men are talking to other men and critiquing them, they are also showing their hatred of women. And it's truly exhausting when you realize that no matter what the circumstances are, we are always catching a stray somehow. We are always being reminded that men hate us, and because misogyny is so normalized, a lot of people, it doesn't even, come to their consciousness that we are also being ridiculed and made fun of too. And once you are consciously aware of that, it makes you look at things differently. Like, we are always in it. We are always in the disrespect to some degree. Also, I don't think that everyone knows this, but there was a point in time where we were literally not allowed to wear pants. So I think that's where the phrase comes from. I could be wrong, but I think so. Misogyny is very, very comparable to racism. And I know that people are in denial about how bad misogyny is and how prevalent it is in society. But I would argue that it's more prevalent in society than racism. As a Black woman, I would never undermine the role that racism has played in history and even in the present. I'm very well versed in that. But I do believe that the most acceptable form of prejudice is misogyny. Because with racism, people are going to call that out more likely than not. If you see a racist post online, you're going to see people respond to that and be very angry about it. But you can come across millions of misogynistic videos, millions of misogynistic content, and not see a single comment about it being misogynistic because this has been accepted in society for so long. I genuinely believe that misogyny is more pervasive and ingrained into society than anything else. For example, we can all agree, or for the most part, most people can agree that racial slurs are unacceptable. But when it's a gender slur like bitch or hoe or slut or any of those, mostly bitch because that's the one that is the most normalized, they aren't stigmatized, and a lot of the time people will call you sensitive for not wanting to be called that even as a joke. And I'm not talking about one being worse than the other. I'm talking about the similarities between the two, and also the fact that misogyny is a lot more well tolerated in the world than racism is. And people that get angry about recognizing those similarities are people that just don't view what women go through as detrimental and harmful and dangerous as it actually is. Pretty much everything that we go through is dismissed and looked at it like it's not important, or that is just something that comes with being a woman, and it shouldn't be. And of course, people not caring about it has to do with the fact that racism and other forms of bigotry typically affect both sexes, while misogyny only affects specifically women or people that are being perceived as women. And I do think it's important to think about the fact that when someone is even being mildly racist, which like being racist in a more subtle way, people are more likely to write them off. But when someone is being even mildly sexist, they're not going to be looked at in the same way. It's socially acceptable. It's completely socially acceptable if a woman is behaving in a way that you don't like to refer to her as a bitch, and no one bats an eye. But of course, people are going to say something when you're saying something about someone in a racial way. I could talk about this for a really long time, but basically my whole point is that misogyny is the most prevalent form of oppression in every society, and it intersects the world in a way that other forms of bigotry don't. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or anything, you will have to deal with misogyny in some capacity as a female person. But yeah, I know people are going to act really fucking stupid in the comments, but it's okay. I think honestly this might be one of those things where no matter how you articulate it as a white person, it's going to sound bad. Like, nothing about it is wrong, and I was not downplaying racism at all, but as a white person, I don't know how it wouldn't come across as that, just because of the position that you're in is very different from a person of color. So what you say about racism is taken very differently than someone that experiences racism. So I don't know, just share the video. Maybe don't make one yourself, or talk about it in that sense, because you're automatically going to be called like a white feminist or whatever, because people think that that is a valid argument for everything. Oh, you're gonna make me cry. You're gonna make me cry. I appreciate comments like this more than you could ever know. It makes all of the weird incel messages that I get and the rape threats and racial stuff, makes it worth it. So thank you. I love you and I appreciate you, and thank you so much for being here. Some of y'all really let your boyfriends talk about other women in front of you like they're fucking crazy, and then you act shocked when later on down the road, when you do something that they don't like, they talk to you in that same way. As a woman, you should pay attention to how the men in your life, romantic, familial, whoever, talk about women that they disagree with or that they don't like for whatever reason. Because if she's a stupid bitch, what do you think you are going to be to them when you fuck up? What do you think that you are to them when you disappoint them? Let's be fucking for real. You really have to think about that. Don't just think about how they treat you and get your head in the clouds about that. Like, I don't know why that gets y'all going. I don't know if you just expect that from men, so you just settle for it. That's probably a large part of it, where you're just like, oh, they're going to call us bitches anyway, or they're going to call other women bitches anyway, so I can't expect anything more. But you should be able to expect that no matter how much a man dislikes another woman, you can expect that he's not going to call her a misogynistic thing because he's not misogynistic. That should matter to you, because not only does that tell you how he views women as a whole, but it tells you how he will view you the day that you disappoint him, the day that you make him angry. He is thinking that about you. You're not different, you're not special, and that is the biggest mistake that you can make, is seeing the mistreatment of another woman or the disrespect, or the misogynistic shit that they have to say about another woman and think, oh, but he only thinks that about women that do that. No, he thinks about all women like that. And the sooner that you realize that, the better off you will be. I promise you.
Men are the problem.
Men.
Men leave.
Are men trash?
Men or a bear?
It's y'all are so fucking emotional. So fucking emotional. Oh my goodness. Y'all can't handle some women saying stuff online, but when you go out into the world, the entire world still caters to you. It's still centered around you. It's still a man's world. This is why I always say men could not last one fucking second as a woman, because imagine entire religions being built around oppressing you and controlling you. Imagine a word being came up with to degrade you, and it being in thousands and thousands and millions of songs, and everyone's just like, well, get over it. It's not that deep. Imagine having to fight for hundreds and hundreds of years for rights that you should have had to begin with. Imagine not being able to have access to the healthcare that you deserve because an entire group of people feel as though you shouldn't have those choices. Imagine being shamed for being either too sexual or not sexual enough. Imagine experiencing the majority of intimate partner violence. Imagine being murdered because men feel entitled to your body. Imagine having your genitals mutilated because men don't believe that you deserve to experience sexual pleasure at any point in your life. I could keep giving examples, but we can look at statistics. We can look at how the world has functioned for hundreds and hundreds of years, and we know who has suffered more. And somehow, you guys still will come on here and cry because there is stuff online that hurts your feelings, and for once you are not being coddled. I cannot believe that this world has functioned at the hands of you people when y'all are the most sensitive, overly emotional, just fragile human beings ever. I've never seen a group more sensitive to criticism, to self reflection, to self awareness, to anything that's not literally eating your asshole inside out. Um, y'all just cannot handle it. It's very, very, very ridiculous. But when you close your fucking phone and you go outside, you have the privilege of knowing that you are more than likely safe. And if you are not, it is likely because of another man. I'm sick of you guys having so much fucking privilege and then coming on here and whining about something that only exists online. I'm sick of the whining because you guys will never actually have to suffer in the ways that women have. And people being mean online or people saying things that you don't like online is not actual suffering. Close the fucking apps. Whining about male hatred is like whining about cyberbullying. If you close your phone, if you get the fuck offline, it does not exist. It doesn't exist. When you go out into the world, you are more than likely safe. So stop fucking whining and get offline. First of all, I'm really sorry. I hate that this is like a shared experience. Like I feel like every young girl or woman can like tell about an experience of that. Especially like being a very young age. Like I was wearing a One Direction backpack, very obviously a little ass kid. And they don't care. I had a man follow me for blocks and blocks and blocks. While I was wearing like super baggy clothes. And it wouldn't matter if I was wearing like super tight clothes, but it's like, it just is a testament to the fact that it does not matter what you are wearing. They are still going to harass you if that's what they want to do. I wish the rates were higher. Because obviously the worst thing a woman can be is single. Not 1 in 4 women being abused by their partners, but being single is the issue. Like that is the worst. Like God forbid a woman is traumatized or raped or brutalized by a man, but not having one, oh my God. I know that for a lot of women, it is very important to be a man's bitch or to be claimed by a man. But I want the women that come across my account to realize that they can't expect more from them. They can't expect that they don't have a partner that is addicted to adult content. They can expect to have a partner that doesn't refer to women that they don't like or women that they disagree with as bitches. They can expect that men respect women that they are not related to or attracted to by any means. These should be things that women should be able to expect. And if the worst thing that happens is they're single for a bit or single for whatever amount of time, then hey, that's a lot better than being treated how a lot of you partnered women are. I really don't like how men wait until women are talking about issues they face to be like, oh, no one cares about men's mental health. What about us? What about us? Talk to your bros about it. Because me personally, I don't give a flying fuck. I don't give a walking fuck. I don't give a sprinting fuck. I don't give a swimming fuck. Go talk to somebody who gives a shit, because it's not me. Maybe people would be willing to hear you out if you didn't wait until a woman is talking about struggles she faces as a woman to bring up issues that men face. It's not the oppression Olympics. And y'all are not oppressed for being men. And if there's anyone to blame, it's your fellow men. They started this shit. Truly not being a misogynist means that you also are not misogynistic to the women that reject you, that don't find you attractive, that you don't find attractive, that don't cater to you, that are not your mother, sister, friend, or someone that benefits you in some way. The ones that don't coddle your feelings, the ones you don't agree with, the ones that piss you off. Like, if you're not a misogynist, it's not going to come out just because a woman pissed you off. It's not. Just like if you're not racist, one annoying black person or one bad black person is not going to make you say something that is derogatory towards an entire group of people. But y'all are actual fucking misogynists, so let's cut the shit. At least be honest about it.
I'll be glad when somebody gets that hoe and drag that bitch and beat the fuck out.
You know what you don't see in those comments? A bunch of men acting shocked and appalled and saying that he needs to heal and he has so much wrong with him and his father probably doesn't love him and things like that, because they don't give a shit. This shit is normal, and that's why you guys act so fucking outraged when people say this stuff about men. But if you really think it's about equality and you really care, then you would be on the front fucking lines saying shit when it's women too. But no, you want to be dick suckers for men. And men want to be crybabies when shit gets dished back out to them. If misandry is such a big problem, please answer these questions in the comments. Can you name one country that is led by a woman where men are not allowed to go outside without a female chaperone? Can you name a country where young boys as young as 6 years old are legally allowed to marry adult women? Can you name one country where 1 in 3 men are likely to be raped by a woman? Can you name a country where men are killed for having sex before marriage? Can you name a country where women kill more than 3 men per week? Can you name a country where men are forbidden from using any form of contraception? Can you name a country where the majority of all murders of men are committed by women? I could go on, but you get the point. Women do not have the systemic power that men do, therefore misandry will never exist outside of the internet. It just won't. Men are the people in power. Men are the people committing the majority of the crimes against people in general, not just women. Against other men, against children, against just people in general. I understand if it hurts your feelings or makes you uncomfortable, but imagine living in the world as a woman. You guys wouldn't last 1 fucking second, which is why you cry so much when you see women say misandrous things online. It doesn't get you hurt. It doesn't get you killed. It doesn't get you threatened. Just from even speaking on misandry, people have been threatening to do all kinds of things to me or saying that they hope certain things happen to me. And I don't care about that because it just is what it is. I know that men are very emotional, but you will never experience even 1% of what women go through. And you should be grateful for that. Instead of putting all of your energy into being upset about misandry online and whatever, you should be spending that time educating your fellow men and doing more to dismantle the patriarchy, which I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon because you guys don't give a shit about us. You just want us to cater to you and shut up and smile and take whatever you guys want to dish out. But misandry would not exist if misogyny wasn't the dominating thing in this entire world. No matter what career you're in, no matter what ethnicity, anything, there's misogyny there. There is no woman in this world that doesn't experience it, hasn't suffered at the hands of it to some degree. It is limiting, it is dangerous, and it is everything that misandry will never be. If it makes you sad to see that stuff online, imagine how it feels to have every single aspect of life touched by the hands of misogyny. You can't even listen to music without being reminded of how much men don't see us as human, don't see us as people worthy of respect, because it's so much more fun and comical to call us bitches. It's so much more fun to feel entitled to our bodies. It's so much more fun and popular to let your friend do that to that girl and say, oh no, that's not my business. It's so much more fun to ignore that because you don't have to think about it because you are not a woman. And for the women that feel the need to go above and beyond for men that will never stick out their necks for them, that will never do the work required to unlearn the misogyny that is inherently instilled in them through being a person in this society, I feel bad for you because it's not going to save you from their disrespect. It's not. They don't hate you any less than they hate me. I can't stand when men pretend like they don't know why women would be afraid of them. And then in the same breath, they'll be like, oh, you can't wear that outside, or you shouldn't wear that outside because a man will do this and this and that, and you should know better. Like, are we supposed to be afraid of you guys or not?
In Gilmore Girls, Lorelai always goes back to Christopher. Always, right? She does. And she does all the time. And it's like to a point where it's kind of unhealthy for Rory, but it's also really unhealthy for Lorelai. And why does it happen? I am going to say something, and people might not agree with me, but people might agree with me, and honestly, I think people should agree with me. Amy Sherman-Palladino changed Christopher's mood and vibe and personality every time she brought him on screen, okay? Sometimes he was this really, really irresponsible guy, and he wanted to be there for Rory and really liked being there for Rory, but didn't really show that much interest in Lorelai overall. He just wanted to be there for the kid. But like, he also really wasn't trying to be there for the kid, you know? And then other times he's constantly blaming Lorelai for keeping him apart from the kid and saying, you should have let me be near my kid more. I can't believe that you like took her away and ran. And being like, I always wanted to be there for Rory more, but like then all of a sudden I actually don't know where I'm going with this. I haven't really watched Gilmore Girls in a while, but I really do feel like they changed Christopher's personality every time we see him on screen, because sometimes he's like really ready for a commitment and he's trying to get Lorelai to commit, and he's hoping that Lorelai will commit with him, and that's all he really wants. And then the next episode he's like, oh, were we supposed to We were supposed to do that. And I know what you're thinking. Jack, men do that now on dating apps all the time. And yes, they do. But they don't do it. And put it in the espresso. It was covered in espresso and I put it in the espresso and now I can't stir. Okay. What was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. So anyways, I know what you're thinking. Jack, he goes back the way that like guys on Bumble are about to break up with you do. They're like, man, I can't wait for you to meet my mom. Man, I can't wait for this to happen. Man, I can't wait. But no, I'm talking myself out of this, but I'm not actually talking myself out of this because the minute I rewatch the show, I will have more to say, but I have not rewatched it in a hot second, especially not Christopher seasons. But I also think that Amy Sherman Palladino legitimately could not decide what to do with Christopher and wanted to keep bringing him back and wanted him to be on the show and really maybe even wanted Lorelai to end up with him in the end before they actually gave Luke a bigger part. But Amy Sherman Palladino could not possibly decide what she was going to do with Christopher because also, Amy Sherman Palladino couldn't decide Luke's backstory for half of the show, to be fair. She couldn't decide what she was going to do with any of the men except maybe Digger. And also, the guy who was most perfect for Lorelai, and I stay on this with all 10 toes, is Charlie Swan. Billy Burke, when he didn't have a mustache and was just the coffee bean guy, that's Lorelai's soulmate. I stand by it. Thank you. Goodbye. I would really need to do a Gilmore Girls rewatch. Like, I really do need to do a Gilmore Girls rewatch, but it's so hard for me to do a Gilmore Girls rewatch because I rewatch Gilmore Girls specifically with my mom. But when I'm watching Gilmore Girls, I now analyze every single second of the show that happens. And then my mom goes, "This is so annoying. Please stop. Like, just watch the show." And I'm like, "I can't, Robin. I can't." Like, I analyze Modern Family when we watch together. I analyze all these other shows when we watch together. I watch most of my TV shows with my mom. I will pause the show and I will turn to her and I will tell her the thing. But when it's Gilmore Girls, she's like, "Why can't we just watch? You're hurting me." And I'm like, but it has to be analyzed. I am at the point in my life where it has to be analyzed. It just does. Also, can we discuss how like amazing my hair looks today? I made rice yesterday, but I asked my mom to put the rice in like 3 hours before I got off work. Like just specifically in water 3 hours before I got off work, so it soaked. I soaked the rice overnight and then I sprayed some of the rice water into my hair after I showered, and it looks perfect. It looks amazing. Anyways, the point is, analyzing Gilmore Girls is so hard because I have to analyze while I'm watching, but I have to watch with my mom, and I have to watch with my mom, and then my mom hates that I analyze, and it's like, and also on top of that, I don't want to analyze it. Like, my entire brain, the entire time I'm watching, is just like, just enjoy it. But then I'm like, but this is actually emotional abuse! And then my brain just goes, just enjoy it. It's Gilmore Girls, just enjoy it. And then I go, oh my God, I am Richard Gilmore. I work in insurance. I live in Connecticut and I work in insurance. And do I have children? No. But do I have 2 dogs who could be Lorelai and Rory? Yes. And also, do I like most of Lorelai's boyfriends? No. Do I even like Luke that much? No. So people won't agree with me if I analyze Gilmore Girls, because also, Team Logan all the way. And also, I will defend Rory for the rest of my life. I will watch the show over and over and over again, and I will defend Rory. I will defend Rory Gilmore like it's my job. Okay, bye. Also, one more thing, I was having kind of a rough day because like all my clients are being really annoying, but then I went into my coffee shop and I got myself a coffee and I'm so happy and everyone was so nice and I got to see a cutie pie little girl in a tutu. Family, the number one thing that happens in the show is that Claire is super duper duper sexualized when she's a teenager and we can't see her. We learned that she had Haley really young with Phil. They were a shotgun wedding because Haley was already 8 months along the way or something when they actually got married. Claire was a super irresponsible teenager. She hooked up with everyone in sight. She hooked up with her professor. She hooked up with a bunch of students. She had crazy wild nights out. She is what Haley is now, but 100 times worse, honestly. Because Haley's doing all these things, but we don't actually see Haley hook up with her professor. And as a part of that, because Haley doesn't get to go to college because they didn't plan that storyline well enough? Yes. But as another part of that, because I don't think that Haley would have dated her own professor? Also, yes. Okay, so here's the thing. They show us, and when I say show, I mean they tell us continuously that Claire is a super sexualized person, or was a super sexualized person when she was young, to show us now that she's a responsible mom. Okay? I forgot Ice. By the time the show starts, Modern Family shows us that Claire Dunphy is a responsible mom. She's a much more responsible mom than Phil. Why is she a much more responsible mom than Phil is a responsible dad? Well, they tell us from the get-go for multiple reasons, and I could bring up all the reasons that Phil Dunphy is trying to tell us that he's the fun dad, but I'm not going to bring up any of that. What I am going to bring up is the fact that Claire goes, yeah, I get up at 6 every morning to make sure the kids get ready for work, and Phil's like, I get up at 5, because he thinks Claire's joking, because he thinks that all the stuff that happens in the house just magically occurs. He has no idea what his wife does in the house, and he makes it so clear from the first episode with that. Okay, so continuing forward, we only see Claire really in plaid shirts, like with a t-shirt underneath and jeans. Her hair is always a little messy. Her shoes are just sneakers, all that jazz. And does she keep it tight? Yes. We see how often she runs. We see how much she takes her physical health seriously. We see how much she cares about her shape and well-being and her family and her body. But we also see that she no longer cares about her appearance. She no longer really cares about looking super duper sexy, which is another reason that she supposedly has an issue with Gloria. So the bigger issue here is that Phil constantly hits on Gloria, as he does with every single woman in sight, to the point that Claire feels like she has to pull Phil away from all these women continuously. And is that Phil's fault more than is the other woman's fault? Yes, but if Claire wants to keep her marriage safe and sound, she has to make sure that she's pulling Phil away more than she's actually trying to befriend these women, because she is really busy trying to keep her family intact like her childhood family never was. Now that being said, Claire doesn't get to be sexy anymore, because Claire was sexy in her teenage years. Claire was sexy in her early 20s. So while Gloria gets to be sexy continuously, because they're trying really hard to show us that there's only 2 ways to be an adult woman in this life, and I can really prove that, because they're really only giving us 2 ways to be an adult woman in this life with Haley and Alex too, because Haley is the super sexy one and Alex is the one who dresses and acts like Claire. As an adult, Haley's teenage Claire, Alex is adult Claire, and because of that, we see that the show's really trying to prove to us continuously that there's really only the 2 options, the 2 ways to be woman in this world, in this society, in this show. And Claire had her super fun Haley years, so then as an adult she becomes Alex, and then when liberated Alex comes along, it's as like some sort of weird reward where she gets to become Haley now that she's been responsible for most of her life. But also it's as a mockery, because all they ever want to do when they show us liberated Alex is make fun of Alex for being liberated, and they do it wrong. Anyways, Claire, like, being drudged down to, like, just stay-at-home mom wear is because the show wants to punish Claire for her time as a party girl. That's it. Thank you. Goodbye. And also so they can give Gloria more time to be sexy, which is also, someone said in my comments, and I really appreciated it, othering Gloria, a woman of color, because she's the only one that gets to be the sexy adult woman on the show, which is great. Okay, bye. Modern Family, Claire Dunphy's favorite holiday is Halloween, which also, by the way, happy Halloween, which is completely understandable. She likes to be able to pretend to be who she's not. And not only that, she also likes being able to scare people. She likes to have good fun. She likes to pass out candy and just like enjoy a day where she doesn't have to be this responsible adult. And she's always enjoyed Halloween. We see that from the beginning. And the thing is about this, that this won't open, and that's actually kind of embarrassing. But it opened poorly, but it opened. Because Claire continuously tries to bring the family together for Halloween. It's her holiday. It's the one that she cares about. It's the one that she loves. And she has switched up Thanksgiving, and she has switched up Christmas, and she has moved everything around for every other holiday. Except for Halloween, because Halloween is really her holiday. It's the one that she doesn't want to have to compromise on. And does she compromise? Continuously. Is she constantly compromising with Haley to try and get her to wear a more acceptable outfit? Yes. Is she constantly trying to compromise with Alex to try and get her to be more involved with the family? Yes. And is she constantly trying to wrangle the rest of her family? Because every time Claire has something that she really wants the family to be a part of, that she really wants to bring the family into, they make it about themselves in their own big shapes and ways. So even though they know it's important to Claire, they're actually actively trying to ruin the day by having their own drama, by bringing their own drama in, by ruining, like, what could be on the picture day episode where she's just trying to get a family picture, a family photo, and she's trying to bring them all in, bring them together. Everyone just has to wear white, and Phil won't try on his white pants, and she's like literally plastic wrapped Luke so that he can't get anything on him. And Jay is not taking it seriously, and he decided that he had to stain all the furniture on the day that they're doing this, and Gloria is wearing the most low-cut dress possible, and showing as much cleavage as possible. And all the while, this is the type of thing that's important to Claire. So on our Halloween episodes where we're seeing Claire trying to be Halloweenified and try to enjoy the holiday, people constantly try to take that away from her, and she has to make these big speeches, and she has to beg people to just kind of go along with her for a minute on these things. Yes, it's silly. Yes, it's Halloween, but it's her silly holiday. It's the silly holiday that she loves. She loves Halloween. Why can't they pretend to love Halloween for one day with Claire? And it like breaks my heart every time, because Phil will constantly all of a sudden be like, oh, I hate scary things on Halloween, even though the previous year he loved Halloween and he loved scary things and he loved scaring things with Claire. And it's something that he's always been into until he's not, because he kind of like seems to want to punish Claire for some reason. And then on the other end, I kind of lost my line of thought here for a second. But on the other end, her kids are doing the same. Her family's doing the same. She's trying to throw a haunted house and nobody's taking her seriously. And she just loves Halloween. And the point of contention for me is the episode where Phil just keeps telling Claire that he doesn't find her scary. He doesn't find her scary. He doesn't find her scary. And it's the entire thing for a very elaborate, large prank so that he can prove that he's scared of her too? Yes. Actually, wait. Separate episodes. Confusing two episodes. Conflating them together. Yes, but at the same time, each episode, like, it could be an episode that's bringing them all together and, like, they really enjoy Halloween, but everyone constantly kind of tries to ruin Halloween for Claire, who loves Halloween so much. And actually, now that I think about it, Dee Dee died on Halloween, which, like, can you control when you die? No. If somebody could control when they died, would it be Dee Dee dying on her least favorite child's favorite holiday? Yes. Anyways, it's Halloween. I love Halloween. Halloween's the funnest holiday, and Claire Dunphy is right for loving it. I didn't think this through beforehand. I was going to talk about The Gentleman, and I was like, it's Halloween. It's Claire Dunphy's favorite holiday. I should talk about Halloween. Okay, bye.